Madam Clerk, are we ready to begin?
Yes, thank you.
I can't hear you.
Madam Chair, I can hear you.
Thank you. I'm just waiting for the clerk.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Perfect. We're good to go. Thank you.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Urban Planning Committee. I will call this meeting to order, and we'll start just acknowledging that we are all over the place, but gathering on Treaty 6 territory. And now we'll do roll call. We'll do the committee first, and we'll see who other councillors are present. Councillor Banga.
I am here.
Councillor Katarina.
Good morning.
Councillor Henderson.
Yep, morning.
Mayor Iveson.
Bon matin.
Good morning. And I thought I saw Councillor McKean.
Whoops, good morning.
Thank you. Councillor Knack, I think you're there as well.
Yes, good morning.
And do I have any other councillors on board? Seeing none, then we'll get going. I need a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Banga.
Madam Chair, I'll move the adoption of agenda for May 11th, 2021, Urban Planning Committee meeting.
Thank you very much. Please vote.
Just waiting on the mayor's vote.
Sorry, my system's still coming online. I'm yes.
Thank you. We have all the votes.
And display the vote, please. And that is carried. Now we'll need a motion on the minutes.
Madam Chair, I'll move the approval of minutes for March 23rd, 2021 and March 25th, 2021 Urban Planning Committee meetings.
Thank you very much. Are there any errors or omissions? See none, please vote.
We have all the votes.
And display the vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. So now we have no protocol items this morning. We'll go to select items for debate. We only have one, so I'm going to deem it selected. And we'll go from there. Do we have any requests to speak, Madam Clerk?
None that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you. Any councillor inquiries? Seeing none, then we'll just move right on to item 6.1, and I believe there's a presentation. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chairperson. We're here this morning to talk about the work we've been doing to further improve safety and security on transit with a specific focus on the COVID-19 impacts. This is a key element of how we support the city plan and our recovery from the pandemic. We're grateful for community involvement and the contributions of our partners as we move forward. With us this morning are Carrie Houghton-McDonald, the branch manager of ETS. We also have Ryan Birch, Dean Sadlowski, Jenny Kane, and Grant Blaine, directors from ETS, Corporate Security, Social Development, and Community Standards and Neighborhood branches. We also have Inspector Angela Kemp from the EPS Crime Suppression Branch. I'll now pass it over to Ms. Houghton-McDonald to take you through this morning's presentation.
Thanks, Gord. Next slide, please. ETS has an overall framework for transit safety and security. Each component in the framework is important and linked to the others. Our approach is backed by research and industry best practices. This also aligns with our commitment to the UN Women's Safe Cities and Safe Public Spaces Global Initiative. And it's an integrated, layered approach. So it includes things like environmental design. So looking at our roads, pathways, transit stops, and infrastructure. How do they support safety and security? How do people experience our physical infrastructure? Transit planning and network design is another component. So the frequency of our service, the types of service we provide, and the locations of things like our bus stops, providing a safe journey for our passengers as they use transit. Policies and procedures is another big bucket. So do we have easy ways for people to report concerns to us? And do we know what to do in emergency situations? We're also doing more to incorporate diversity and inclusion and looking at the intersectionality of factors and incorporating diverse voices into our policymaking and decisions. Education and outreach is another important layer. So we've had campaigns for staff, passengers, and our community. Examples like a zero tolerance campaign related to harassment, another campaign called Keep Each Other Safe, and a Respect to My Workplace campaign. We also have work underway to roll out a bystander awareness campaign, which we'll talk about later in the presentation. Technology and equipment is another component. So looking at things like surveillance cameras across the entire system. And then of course we have our police and security component, which you're going to hear more about throughout the presentation today. Next slide. At the core of a safe transit journey is people. So many different safety layers and elements working together in an integrated manner to support our transit riders. So I'm just going to go through some examples of the different resources that are in this framework, providing support to us as transit riders. So the first layer is looking at security guards. So our contracted security guards perform surveillance and patrols and provide assistance and support to people in the transit centers and LRT stations in order to deter disorderly conduct and crime. Guards report observations and incidents directly to our ETS control center so that they can then dispatch the appropriate responders. They've helped a number of Edmontonians who have been in distress situations, intervening in times of mental health crisis, as well as suicide attempts in our LRT stations. They've also intervened in situations involving missing children. They provide customer service, helping direct people to their stops as an example, and answer questions about the facility as well. They operate under Provincial Security Service Worker License, and we recently changed the contract provider to commissionaires. Transit peace officers are the next layer. So they provide visible uniformed officer presence, patrolling, and respond to incidents in the transit centers and LRT stations. Their aim is really to disrupt disorder and assist police in deterring criminal activity. So when something is reported and requires an intervention, TPOs are often dispatched to respond. They enforce applicable bylaws and acts, and they operate under the Peace Officer Act. The Edmonton Police Service is another layer. So EPS's aim is to reduce crime, harm, and disorder to support the safety of transit centers and LRT stations. So they respond and intervene to all criminal incidents. And we've been working collaboratively with EPS, particularly since January, on continued efforts to further enhance security for riders and staff. So they've been doing a lot of community outreach and education, working closely with administration and providing that support to riders at our locations. In addition to those three main layers of support, we also have our 24/7 control center, which is monitoring and looking out at all of our LRT stations and transit centers and responding to incidents that are happening on the road from a service management perspective. Transit Watch is also a program that we offer, and it's administered and managed through our control center. We also have emergency blue phones, and we have other mechanisms for responding to anything that's taking place within the transit kind of realm. So they dispatch emergency response resources as needed, evaluating the incident, and then making sure that the right resource is responding. Another critical role is really riders. You know, we can look out for each other and be active bystanders and providing support to each other as we're using transit. So that helps us, and we've seen a dramatic increase in reporting through the Transit Watch program, which I'm really, really excited about because it shows me that people are looking out for each other and taking the time to report anything that seems a bit odd or of concern to us. We also have other elements in the framework, including SEPTED design elements, again, Transit Watch. All of these layers are working together to support a safe transit journey for riders. Next slide. So COVID-19 has had a major impact on transit ridership across North America, and Edmonton's included in that. So as a result of people traveling less due to the pandemic and related restrictions, we've seen ridership decline. ETS continues to connect Edmontonians to basic needs like groceries, healthcare, work, and childcare. And our ridership has been performing a bit better than some other large urban centers despite the pandemic. But by having fewer people in the transit spaces, we're losing a bit of that natural surveillance that comes from being around a lot of other people as you're using the system. So transit really is the heart of a lot of our public spaces in our urban centers. And issues that affect our city and residents are also having an impact in transit. So in addition to seeing a dramatic increase in reporting things to us, which is a very good thing, because we want to know what's happening out there so we can respond appropriately, we also see that proactive patrols and providing social supports are needed as we move forward, and that's been part of our response. So we've seen an increase in social and security disorder, including behaviors like vandalism, harassment, excessive loitering, some overdoses, as well as threats to staff and contractors in some of our facilities, which immediately was a concern to us and resulted in some targeted actions and tactics. Next slide. So we've been meeting with EPS and social partners since the beginning of the year to develop targeted actions to this situation. So we have representatives from administration from ETS, facilities, parks and roads, social development, community standards and neighborhoods, as well as corporate security and communications and engagement. We've been working closely with EPS as well. The integrated approach ensures that we are coordinated, sharing, and working together to develop solutions. We've been doing more outreach and education at our transit centers and LRT stations. It's a partnership model between the city, EPS, and high school programs. We've implemented more proactive patrolling from both EPS and our transit peace officers to monitor and respond to issues. Timely responses to reported incidents. There's been lots of occasions where those responders have been there in a matter of mere minutes. We've added additional security guards and changed the contract provider, as I mentioned, to commissionaires. We have more eyes on the system to monitor, patrol, and report things to us. They have been able to intervene in very trying circumstances, and they've assisted riders with a real wide range of issues and have been a go-to resource. And by adding those extra resources, we're ensuring that we have an appropriate presence able to monitor all of the physical spaces that we have. We've also done additional monitoring from our ETS control center, so proactively watching the almost 4,000 cameras that we have throughout the system. And we've been promoting our text message service in the Transit Watch program, and that's generated some really great results for us. We've also provided extra support for vulnerable Edmontonians, partnering to provide transportation to shelters as an example. And in addition to this, we've developed a pilot program to do more outreach on our trains, which Jenny is going to speak to in a few minutes. Next slide. So part of the motion asked us to identify for you how we're actually monitoring results and what kind of measures we're paying attention to. So we have several regular key performance measures that we track and formally report on, including security disorder per 100,000 boardings, which is a common metric in transit, user perceptions of safety in transit, and the number of operator assaults as examples. We also track activities from our enforcement as well as types of the incidents that are occurring. We track volume of reports and the number of reports that turn into events. We work together with our partners to have oversight of transit safety and security as part of building a safer city in Edmonton. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jenny, and she's going to talk about our community transit outreach team.
Thank you, Carrie. As Carrie mentioned, we've been meeting since the beginning of the year to ensure integrated planning and an informed, effective response to the issues that we're seeing. We've been working to ensure that we have the right response at the right place. Concerns such as mental health, addictions, and a lack of housing are critical contributing factors to some of the issues that we're seeing on and around transit. And it's really important that we have people engaged to respond with appropriate skills and with expertise and extensive knowledge of the resources that people need to be connected to. The community transit outreach team that we're proposing will be comprised of transit peace officers paired with outreach workers. We will begin with 2 teams and then we'll expand to 4 teams based on results. Each team will provide a person-centered, trauma-informed response, connecting with people who are marginalized and in need of additional supports, building relationships, and connecting them to appropriate resources. The teams will provide direct service and will act as a resource to transit peace officers, police, and others as issues arise. This model has been designed based on learnings from a pilot in Calgary, which has shown really good results, and will build on good work already underway in Edmonton by coordinating with other outreach services and services such as Crisis Diversion 24/7. Implementation will start this summer. I will now pass it on to Inspector Angela Kemp for the next slide.
Thanks, Jenny. The Edmonton Police Service is committed to working with our transit and community partners to create safer environments in around these transit spaces, as well as increasing the positive interactions with the citizens of Edmonton. As Carrie stated before, we are creating the Transit Safety Initiative that will be implemented to address concerning behavior with a human-centered approach, focusing on community engagement and education. This intervention will consist of joint operational teams with EPS members as well as transit peace officers to create a reduction in criminality and allow for more pro-social behavior at transit locations. It is our goal to ensure the support of these transit safety initiatives and to partner with outreach agencies and resources for the best possible conclusions. In addition to support these events, we've also had our community engagement teams partnering with the EPS help teams, the City of Edmonton NET program, as well as the Center High Emergency Pathway students to conduct proactive community crime prevention pop-up events that have been concluded on various platforms throughout Edmonton. These events have reached thousands of riders over the past 2 months and will continue into the summer months. As we know, these are very complex social issues that are not only affecting our transit spaces, but also can be observed throughout our city. No one agency or service will be able to solve these concerns on our own, and the solution lies with the development of collaborative and innovative relationships with our partners, which you will see here happening in the next few months. I'm proud to say that the Edmonton Police Service and Edmonton Transit and our community resource agencies are working together to find these solutions. I'd like to thank the committee for this opportunity to advise with these new initiatives that are happening in our city. I will now turn it back over to Carrie for the conclusion of our presentation.
Thank you, Angela. So we know that safe and secure transit is essential for recovering ridership and enabling mobility in our region. Recovering from the pandemic also relies on having a safe, convenient, and reliable transit service. Our work to build a safer city continues, and we look forward to the discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentations, for all the presenters. Really appreciated that. And now I'm going to go over to questions, first of committee and then of other councillors. So I can see, there it is. We will begin with Councillor Banga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, a real good presentation and a good roadmap for how we are going to be handling things. I just got some questions about, we started in 2018 on this improved safety measures on transit property and stations everywhere. Is there any way to gauge our success in this direction so far?
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. So I think there are. So certainly, you know, that initial investment involved capital investments and things like operator shields, surveillance cameras across the system. And then on the operating side, things like continuous operator training. So we do have a lot of different measures that we track. We know that there's been a positive impact related to those investments, and we'll continue to report back to Council on an annual basis, you know, with the performance in those various areas.
Okay, so from time to time, there are complaints of operator assaulted by patrons and whatnot, are those going down, staying same, or going up?
Thank you, Councillor. They've been pretty static. So we had a decline by one incident the last time we reported to council. But I have Grant Blaine on the line from the Transit Peace Officer Group. Wondering, Grant, if you want to add anything?
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, as mentioned, I think they've remained pretty static, but our approach has been a bit more collaborative with the EPS on the response piece, which is great. So we have seen increased response time to deal with the operator and the citizens in the area. So that collaborative approach is getting better, as well as the response times. But in terms of the data, it has remained pretty static.
Okay. So, I mean, we have a whole bunch of measures or I guess mitigation that we are I guess we're spending our resources on. So any idea, do we have any of those specific measures working better than the others? Or is it too soon for all that data to be compiled?
Thank you. I think, so there are some really good indications right now. I agree that over time we'll get more data and can do more trend analysis. But as an example, we've had a dramatic increase in the number of reports coming into us, which is really positive and enables us to intervene and design preventative tactics. So as an example, since the introduction of the security guard layer, we've seen almost a 500% increase in the volume of reports into the control center. So we're much more aware of the activity that's taking place. Promoting our Transit Watch program and adding the text message service, we've seen a dramatic increase in reports. So as an example, on a per monthly basis in 2021, we've seen almost 200 different interactions coming into us through the Transit Watch program, which is a big jump from previous years.
So those security guard reports, big increase there. Does that tell us that there is less safety, or is it more reporting going on now?
Thank you. So I think it's providing more awareness of incidents, so then we can determine if it turns into a security event or not. So it's much more proactive, much more about surveillance and eyes on the system. With that said, Dean Sadlowski is our Director of Corporate Security. He's on the line. Dean, would you like to weigh in with anything further?
Yes, good morning, and thank you for the question, and it's a good one. I think that including what Carrie has said, I think it's all about early detection of incidents, which is what our guards are showing that they're doing out there. And just the littlest suspicious activity is getting into our control center so that we can follow up on it and actually have a fighting chance at resolving the issue before it gets more extreme. So I think that that's what we're seeing versus not having anyone there at all. And I think we know from the past that some people would not report things to us just because they didn't know either where to go or how to do it. So I think that that's what the increase is all about.
And Karen, I can jump into the absence of reporting does not mean that crime is not occurring. So the fact that we have that huge increase of 500% of reporting means that our citizens are trusting us to address these issues and letting us know that they're happening. So I would say it's a positive and remarkable piece of reporting.
Thank you. My time is up in this round, and I'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Banga. Now, Councillor Katarina, looks like you had some technical difficulties. Did you want to jump in there now? I see he's still having technical difficulties. Councillor Katarina? Councillor Katarina, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, you're right. I'm having technical difficulties this morning, but if I could.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So with the 2018, 21.4 million were given for safety and security. First of all, was that a one-time sum, or was it ongoing?
So the capital investment was about infrastructure related to the shields and the cameras. On the operating side, it was ongoing. So continuous training for the operators and then operating dollars to fund the security guards.
So has all that money been spent? Has it been used now in total?
Yes, it has.
Everything. So do you need something additional in order to do what you're telling us you're doing or going to be doing?
Thank you, Councillor. So during the budget adjustment process in the spring, we received funding from you for the pilot project for the outreach worker. That was a new item that we needed funding for. So that's a 2-year program. And we'll do a formal evaluation. I would say in terms of adding the extra security guards, we're testing it. If it expands and requires additional funding, we'll come through the budget adjustment process with a request.
Okay. And the SEPTED principles in that, and I know we're working on the stadium station right now and the rebuild of that. So just briefly tell me what the changes are going to be from what it used to be like to what it's going to be like going forward and how that's going to help with the safety and security issues that we have there, and including Belvedere as well as one of the hotspots.
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. Ryan Birch is on the line. He's our Director of Bus Operations, who's been trained in SEPTED. I'm wondering, Ryan, if you want to answer that question for us.
Absolutely, I can answer that question. So we are taking a look at all of the SEPTED principles every time we take a look at our transit centers. We did a review of all of the LRT stations probably about 1.5 years ago, and just took a look at the design and layout of things to make sure that we're meeting the mark for SEPTED. And we, from there, implemented some changes on lighting and some other things along the way. So it's something that we keep current with as we go. Does that answer your question?
Somewhat. Be more specific. On the capital line that's 45 years old, virtually all the stations are inadequate. We're doing the actual work, $28 million at stadium. So give me an idea of, outside of lighting, what are the changes going on at stadium?
Sure thing. I can jump in. So one really easy example is looking at landscaping. So making sure that we have clear lines of sight for people and there's no obstacles. Looking at things like improved lighting, looking at the movement of people within the center and making sure that there's no dark corners and hidden areas for people. We've done things like installing mirrors so people can see around corners and stairwells and those types of things. So it's all within that vein. We can get you a more detailed list of the exact SEPTED improvements, and we can share that with you through a memo.
Okay, and with ongoing, plans for the future, obviously we have with the new city plan and the exhibition site with the move to 15th and then the move north. What is going to happen with the Coliseum station as it exists right now? Have we come to a determination on what we're doing there and what we're going to be doing in the meantime before it actually either moves or north-south, that sort of thing?
So I don't have an answer at my fingertips on that. I will follow up with my colleagues in IIS and we'll make sure to follow up with you with those details.
Because I would suggest the Coliseum station is probably your worst one in the system, just in the fact of design and issues that arise there because of that. Yeah. Thank you. That's all my questions. Yeah, send me some details through a memo. Send it to everybody, not just me, but through a memo would be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Katarina. On the committee, I have Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, just a quick question I was curious about. With the commissionaires, I see we've got placement at 19 different stations and transit centers. What kind of coverage is that? I'm not quite sure how many we have in total. And are we leaving them in one place? Are we moving them around? Just wondering where we're at on that question.
Thank you, Councillor. Dean, did you want to answer his question?
Yes, absolutely. We use intelligence to deploy our resources to make sure we have the right resource in the right place at the right time. I can tell you that we have 13 sites right now that we've deployed 2 guards to, just because the intelligence dictates that we need the additional coverage. And we have 8 sites with single guard coverage to make up 21 sites, and it fluctuates depending on the demand. So I can tell you that those 21 locations are locations where we know we need those resources versus locations where we do not.
I'm just curious to know, I mean, if it's a successful program, though, I mean, how many of those centers do we have in total? I'm not sure of that number to begin with.
So in total, we have about 43 different locations.
About half.
Exactly.
Okay. And the half of the, because it seems to me there's huge advantages as well to having somebody there that can serve other functions besides just security. So that's why. So if it was successful and we felt that there was advantage to having somebody at every station, is that something we think we should be considering in the future or not? We don't know yet because we're in the pilot piece.
We can definitely do that follow-up and do the analysis. What we're measuring right now is the impact of the additional presence. So by having 2 resources at our biggest and busiest spaces, but we can certainly tie that into the analysis and follow up with a recommendation.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. I'll jump in and ask a few questions. First of all, could you help me understand the difference from the security guards and the new commissionaires?
Thank you, Councillor. Dean, would you like to talk about the commissionaires a bit?
Sure, and I think that the best way to put it is that we have a contract with the commissionaires, just like we had a contract with the previous provider. They would be very similar in nature. The scope of work is basically the same, and the services we require is the same. I think some of the things that I would highlight with the commissionaires that attracted us to them is that they have their own training center, and they make sure that their employees are trained to the Solicitor General standards as it relates to their licensing. They have technology that we've deployed to all of the locations that they occupy and transit facilities strategically throughout the stations, where they have to scan in, proving that they've been patrolling that area, so we can audit that and make sure that we're getting a good bang from our buck. I think the one thing that I'm excited about, and I've managed 3 security contracts since I've been the director, is that the pay rate versus the bill rate is probably one of the best that I've seen, in the sense that we're actually paying the guards a really good rate, which is going to attract good employees to this contract. And the bill rate is one that's is beneficial to the city of Edmonton compared to others. So I think that those are some of the differences. Also, the expectations and the accountability. I take great pride in accountability and recognition of the contract. So I can assure you that every single incident comes through me. And if we need to take a deep dive in it and debrief and make things improvements for the future, we do it on each and every case.
Thank you very much. I guess I'm wondering how approachable they are, because I've gotten some reports from women at stations, and they feel like the security guards in the past have just been standoffish. Are they engaging with people on a regular basis? Because you feel more likely to call a friendly face than someone in the corner.
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. I spent some time at the transit centers supporting the bus network redesign rollout. So I was observing, and I would say the commissionaires absolutely are approachable. They're actually walking around, engaging in conversation. They were directing people to the appropriate bus stops. So hopefully there'll be a change. I also see they have representation in terms of their employees. I saw women employed, BIPOC members. They're definitely representing the community. So hopefully that perception will start to change for people.
Awesome. That's really, really important. Now, I'm very excited about the community outreach team going forward. And is that going to then be deployed at just LRT stations, LRTs? Because you start only with 2 teams, I think.
Jenny, did you want to respond?
Yes, thanks very much, Councillor, for the question. The deployment is going to be data-based, so we'll work closely with Dean's team to look at where the data indicates that we should be driving people to, in particular to respond to some of the social issues that I outlined. So we'll use the data, for example, on overdose incidents and mental health incidents.
Okay, and then you're able to support and help people directly. That's wonderful. Whether they're on a station or in an LRT, wouldn't matter, okay? So when I read the reports here, there's a section that's called mischief, and the numbers in the last month or the end of December was really high, yet we have low ridership. Can you speak to me what the mischief is happening?
Thank you, Councillor. Ryan, did you want to jump in on that one?
Could you just clarify that for me, please?
I'm just trying to understand what are the types of mischief you respond to. When I looked in December, the numbers were much higher, but we know ridership is much lower. So I was trying to understand what types of mischief there were. Sure.
So we see a lot of loitering happening. There's some vandalism that's happened in some of our locations. Some of the numbers are a little bit higher in the downtown core, and we saw some spikes, especially during the cold snap when people were needing to seek some shelter. There's been, I would say that makes up the most of it. Probably Dean might be able to elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that you kind of nailed it, Brian, that we see, again, might be some mischief as to vandalism or damage to our facilities. I think that what might have contributed to it, though, as Carrie alluded to, is that there wasn't a lot of people in the downtown area. And then that provided people locations where they would hang around and loiter, and then that would escalate to incidents of mischief just from itself. Now that we have a few more people coming downtown and we're really focusing all of our integrated resources on those locations, we're actually seeing, as of yesterday, a good decrease in the downtown core, which I'm proud to announce as well.
Thank you. I'll have follow-ups, but I'll come around. At this point, we're going to go to Councillor Knack on the first round.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for the information here. I just have a few more questions following up on Councillor Essinger's questions around the security guards. My question, and it comes from, and this is what sort of sparked a lot of this desire to have this conversation, is that I still do worry about the perception that folks have. And while I have a bit more comfort based on some of the answers I heard, I guess the main question I want to ask is there an expectation in the contract for more active participation from those security guards? Or is it just something we hope to see? Because I think that's where I feel there's a big difference right now.
Dean, did you want to answer that?
Yes, and absolutely, we have our expectations identified in the contract. I think in addition to that, as it relates to Edmonton Transit, we have a detailed set of post orders that we created in collaboration with Edmonton Transit to make sure that we are meeting their needs. And that's truly our playbook, which we may hold our guards accountable to what our expectations are of them on the ETS system. I would suggest that, I've heard terms of passiveness versus aggressiveness, and in the job that they do, I think passive is probably better than aggressive. We want to make sure that they're doing their function in making sure they're reporting incidents, observing, reporting, early detection, and being that friendly face that we've heard of versus more combative. And that's not the direction we want to go with those individuals.
So I very much agree with what you just said. I guess what I want to double check is, in my mind, what I have witnessed, and to be fair, I'm not in those stations every day, but I've been in them enough since the security guards have come in. But I very much feel like, at least under the old contract, they very much embraced the notion of passive, and I say that in the sense of it almost felt like they were non-existent. And there's a difference between being passive, it feels odd to say, like an active passiveness, in the sense of when you want somebody to feel more comfortable, even having somebody like as the LRT is pulling up, are they greeting people as they come off, welcoming them to the station? Are they saying hello? Are we expecting that of them versus hoping that they're going to do that? Because I mean, we know this and we see it, and I mean, it's why Walmart has a greeter. It's why at different spots that initial contact can help change the dynamic. And I've never felt like those security guards have added to that. And I'm wondering if this new contract with the expectations we have will shift that and make it feel like we're actually getting, and I say this a little bit glibly, it doesn't feel like we were getting great value for our money previously. And I'm wondering if that's going to change going forward.
Thank you, Councillor. I absolutely think there has been a shift. So the guards through the commissioners that I've seen in action are very personable, very much being proactive, engaging in conversation with folks. We'll make sure to clarify that in our post orders, as Dean mentioned, providing that direction to them about expectations. I think they're going to welcome it. Some of them are absolutely naturals at doing it, and we'll continue to just do the appropriate follow-ups. It's a very, very valid point.
Okay, that's great. And it's really encouraging. I appreciate the work on that. I think that will make a big difference. And are we, I guess the last question around that is, as part of the ongoing sort of monitoring and comment and sort of performance measurement, are we engaging with ATU related to that? Because I've had some chats with them, and they had also, since the contract first started, provided a couple of different, well, I say a couple, enough examples that gave me pause about what we were getting from the previous service. So are we regularly talking with them to make sure that if their drivers are witnessing not active behavior, that we can act on that?
Thank you, Councillor. So we have a couple different mechanisms. So I actually meet with the president on a weekly basis. So Wednesday mornings, he and I are together, and that's exactly what we're talking about, is all of the related issues and observations and solutions. We also have our joint management union collaboration committee, where a lot of the different operational areas are meeting with the union executive, doing that exact thing. So yes, we have multiple different ways of collaborating on that.
Last question, just since I think Ms. Kemp from Edmonton Police Service, same sort of question to EPS. I had understood that maybe there wasn't a feeling that they were being as supportive to the goals of EPS. How do you feel about that engagement, about going forward with the new security guards?
I think from an EPS perspective, looking at the fact that the commissioners are security guards, they're not trained as extensively as transit peace officers or police officers with EPS. What our view is, what we need is essentially professional witnesses, right? They can deal with minor situations, but if anything's exigent, we're looking for that professional witness point of view and being able to do some sort of crowd mitigation. What we don't want to see happening is people putting themselves in danger trying to deal with a situation that they're not trained for. And I'm hoping, and in conversations with Carrie, with the new security contract, we're already seeing a difference in the engagement with that customer service lens. And that is that relationship building pieces that I was talking about during my presentation, is that's what we really need to see these solutions come into focus.
That's excellent. Thank you. I'm out of time.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor Banga for second round.
Thank you. A few more questions. I know we're thinking going the way with transit police officers with, I guess, paired with outreach workers. Could somebody tell me what would be the function of outreach person would be?
Jenny, would you like to answer that?
Sure, thanks very much for the question. So the outreach workers will work paired with a transit peace officer, and the function of the outreach worker would be to build really solid relationships, particularly with people that we find we have repeat issues with. And they will then look at what the underlying issues are, if it's a lack of housing, if it's mental health issues, if there's addictions issues, and connect the person with the appropriate resources. So they'll actually do a warm handoff, continue to look at whether the resources have been able to meet the person's need, and hopefully we'll see better outcomes than on transit, which is definitely what the Calgary pilot has seen.
Okay. Inspector Kemp, I know, with what happens, long time ago, what happened with folks who were repeat offenders at transit property. I guess they were banned and whatnot from coming close to any property owned by City of Edmonton and transit. Could you tell me if the practice is still the same? Are those people getting banned, or is that practice not continued anymore?
It's difficult to answer. I think in certain specific situations, the ban is the solution. But in looking at the overall totality of some people's individual experiences and situations, when we're looking at what Jenny was saying with outreach workers and trying to find solutions, that sometimes that banned piece is occurring, and that's because of repeated criminality or behavior that can't be addressed in any way. And we're looking at solutions for keeping the majority of the citizens safe on transit. That being said, once people do show more pro-social behavior, those bans can be lifted. And that's the same with our temporary shelters and other areas within the Edmonton, that sometimes that ban is the only thing that can solve the problem at that point in time.
Yeah, and you also said that you're looking at additional joint patrols with the TPOs and security guards. But obviously, there should be resources from the police side that has to be involved in there. Could you be able to tell me where those people are going to come from?
Yeah, 100%. So our Transit Safety Initiative joint operation starts actually this Friday, and that's scheduled to go until October. In addition to that, the Crime Suppression Branch has 3 crime disruption teams, that one of their primary functions is also attending to transit stations and transit bus stations. Also, with the addition of the changes to Vision 2020 and the reorganization of the Edmonton Police Service, every transit station and bus station has been placed either in a neighborhood beat geographic area, or also in a crime suppression zone. So we do have other teams that are responsible for varying different LRT transit stations within Edmonton, and they do go on a regular basis to provide proactive policing engagement at these locations.
So would it be fair to say that by the end of this, I suppose, pilot project for now, is it what would we our measuring stick to make sure that what we're doing?
So we'll be measuring a reduction in crime severity at our transit locations, as well as the increase and measuring the actual outcomes. So how many people we can connect to our outreach agencies, and how many people working with our Homeward Trust colleagues as well to get them into housing, so they're not using transit as sheltering options.
Okay. Yes, my time is almost up, and it's up. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Banga. I have a few more questions. I'll follow up with the comment about the mischief. And one of the comments someone had made is that one of the items of mischief was loitering. Do we give people a ticket for loitering?
Grant, would you like to respond to that?
Sure, Councillor, there certainly is fines issued for loitering, but that's in the most severe circumstances where there's the repetitive behavior. First approach is start the conversation and kind of deal with the scenario in front of you. But the tickets do happen, but as a last resort, after repeated attempts to gain compliance or connections to social services or whatnot. But yes, loitering is a fine. It's not necessarily a graffiti piece or damage to infrastructure piece. It's separate.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate the focus is changing. I'm sorry, did Inspector Kemp have something to add?
I just wanted to mention that our premise for all our joint forces operation is the safety continuum. So we're working off awareness, education, and then enforcement as the last resort. So our entire premise is to get the pro-social behavior without resorting to any type of enforcement.
Okay. And I see that change. I think the police had the human center engagement work, the commissionaires more of a people focus. So I'm feeling like we're addressing people. The outreach worker will look at people as a whole and their needs and try to address them. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's the way we have to do because we have many vulnerable people in and around the system. But I've heard several women who have stopped riding transit, particularly the LRT, because they do not feel safe anymore. And I have a couple of questions about that. Could you speak to me about the Lrt driver role in that? And the other piece is, if people know who to call when they're in trouble, because I've heard they didn't know about Transit Watch. Is that number on every bus and transit or LRT car so they could get some help if they need it?
Thank you for that question. So on the first part, the role of the LRT operator is similar to the bus operator. So they are uniformed presence, approachable. In addition, any emergency kind of notifications that come in from the train car, it's the operator responding to it. So they would have a direct line to the control center to dispatch appropriate resources to be able to respond. So I think what people are going to notice, what's different, is having more patrols. So we'll see more TPOs, more police members, and then this outreach worker model. So just a better physical presence of that uniformed resource there to provide support. And again, we have our security guards as well. The second part related to that, sorry, can you remind me of that
Well,
last
it's about how do people know about Transit Watch and what to call and who to call?
So I definitely acknowledge we could do more promotions, and I'll get the team to do that. We've had a lot of social media push. We've had signage at our different facilities. But obviously, if people aren't quite familiar with that tool, we will absolutely do more communications and more promotions. So there's a physical reminder for people.
Yeah, because I think sometimes you don't really are aware of needing the number until you need it. It's like, what is that number? I don't know. Or what can I do? So I think that additional signage would be helpful. Even if it's by the yellow alarm, so people have an idea, there's another alternative if they don't feel comfortable pressing the button. So maybe back to the question of, what would we tell people, particularly women who still are feeling safe? How would you say, come ride LRT, we've improved it, here's why?
So again, I think, there's going to be an increase in the number of resources physically present within those spaces. In addition to that, we're looking at activating our spaces to welcome people back to transit. So I'm really excited about people getting vaccinated. I think ridership is going to improve as restrictions ease up as our numbers start to go down for COVID. So we're looking at partnerships with different organizations, arts groups, et cetera. So to have these livelier kind of welcoming spaces for people to welcome them back. And overall, I do think people are going to return. Ridership will improve. And with that, hopefully people start to feel safer as they're with lots of other people using the system.
So my last seconds, could you speak to me about how the Bystander program will help that?
Sure thing. Thank you. So the Bystander Awareness Program is really about supporting people and understanding what to do. So if they witness something, what are their options? What supports are available to them? So it's about being an active bystander. These programs exist. There's lots of great examples of them. We're working on a citywide project related to creating a formal program that'll include some education elements. But the first phase is over the summer months, we'll start doing marketing and communications about what it means to be an active bystander and what tools and options are available for us as we're using the system.
Thank you. My time is up. Councillor Knack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few more questions around the security, or more the communication piece that you were just chatting about. So, how are we going to talk about the? So we're talking about the numbers. We're going to talk about this. Are we planning like an actual marketing campaign around the changes and improvements to safety, the additional, the change in contract, what that looks like? My worry is that, it's one thing to get people in and then see it for themselves, but they have to be convinced to come back to the system before they can see it firsthand. So how do we plan on communicating that?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Great point. So we've been working really closely and getting great support from communications and engagement. So we actually have a strategic comms plan that has a number of different tactics. We've started kind of communicating different components, doing proactive media relations, but there's much more to come. And I think as we think more about these activations and introducing these additional layers, those are fantastic opportunities for us. So we'll definitely have more presence. We'll have materials, we'll have campaigns. I totally hear what you're saying about raising that awareness and not just relying on people experiencing it for themselves.
Okay. The other question I had, and this talks a little bit about your activation of these spaces, and I hope this isn't too much of a stretch, but I actually feel it really relates to security because I've seen this in other cities where they have more active spaces. So there has been conversation in the past, but I'm curious as to your perspective because I don't think we've talked about it from an ETS perspective. We've talked about it in land use perspective, about looking at these hubs and saying where we've got space, are we looking at leasing out our lands for $1 to get a coffee shop that operates in our transit station, where we've got a hub that is just a sea of parking, where we can get somebody to put up a mixed use development on site using the air rights? Because one of the best ways to improve safety, and we've talked about it, is just get people there, more eyes on the street. And it feels like we've been very hesitant as a city to essentially put to use that land, which is right now sitting there doing nothing.
Thank you, Councillor. We've definitely had conversations to that effect, working closely with our real estate branch. I think in the past we've had some partnerships, but I'm not sure there's been a big demand for that. So I agree with you. That's something I can follow up with real estate on to see if we can pursue that a bit more aggressively as we think about our recovery. And I agree with you, it provides great opportunities. And as we talk about densification and getting more people in our physical kind of spaces, it's a fantastic opportunity for that kind of one-stop shop, similar to what you would see in Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, etc.
And I guess my piece is, I think in the past, the way it's been looked at from the real estate branches is how do we lease this at market value versus maybe taking a step back and saying, do we get a broader citywide benefit if we are a bit more aggressive in how we use our land, which in turn impacts safety because you're activating these spaces. So that's just what I'm curious, if there's a way to help advance that conversation a bit. If there's a way, does council essentially have to grant permission to maybe look at that land similar to some other lands that we're using in the city and activating at different price points, if you will, so that you can then accomplish some of these safety goals as well as activation goals?
I think I saw Miss Pearson was on the line. I'm not sure if she'd like to weigh in on that.
I am. I think we'd like to take that back, Councillor Knack, if that's okay. I understand the broader goals you're talking at, but there could be some unintended things, so we'd like to analyze that. If
sure. Maybe I'll chat with you offline. We can set up a time to chat because I've been interested in this, but this might not be the right venue perfectly for it. So thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Banga.
Yeah, sorry to go into this extra round, but I do have a couple more questions. My first question is for, again, Inspector Camp there. Crime Severity Index. Could you explain a bit more about what it is?
For sure, I'm not an expert in every aspect of the Crime Severity Index, but essentially they're looking at all the violent crime and each of it gets attached a certain percentage for what's determined to be more violent. Like obviously a homicide would be the most violent, and then it goes down in severity to a personal robbery. And they're able to take these numbers with the National Crime Index and are able to essentially rate the crime that's happening at our transit locations, from the ones that have the most severity of crime to the ones that have the least. And then we use that intelligence to deploy our resources in conjunction with the Edmonton Transit information that they have as well.
So it is some kind of weighted every scale that is assigned to any particular type of crime, I suppose.
Yeah, correct. And then it has a national scale. So they're able to also compare it with other transit areas throughout the country as well, if we chose to make those inquiries.
Okay. In general, so those CSIs, are they consistent over the last I would say 5 years, or is it going?
For the CSI shifts, are you talking about, or?
In general, it doesn't only have to be just the transit centers. General, I guess, crime trends.
For crime severity, I didn't understand your question. If you're talking about the CSI shifts or crime severity?
Yeah, CSI.
Okay, so they're essentially crime prevention methodology shifts where we use a variety of evidence-based methodologies to reduce crime. For the majority of these events, we're looking at hotspot policing, where that's essentially taking uniformed police officers or transit peace officers going into a location for 12 to 15 minutes, where it's been scientifically proven to reduce crime in that area, in that space, for the next 2 hours. So it's randomly picked locations throughout our transit systems that our members will be going there and interacting with the population that is using our transit, and also the citizens of Edmonton that are around our transit stations as well. When you talk about the CSI shifts, we've also used them within EPS for various other locations around the city, depending on what the crime trends are and those issues in those specific geographic locations.
Yeah. Ms. Pearson, could you be able to tell me that since we are, there is mention of deploying more security guard, additional security guards, does it need approval of any further, I guess, assigned budget money to this, or do we have it already approved?
My understanding, and Ms. Houghton McDonald can correct me, but they're doing it within the resources they have already. And frankly, thank you for the question, Councillor. That's why I'm here listening as well.
Good. And my last question is, so today the recommendation is received as for information. So basically what happens now, it's just all the recommendations, they're followed up, and when are we going to hear back whether all this discussions we are doing, are they working or not working, or what needs to change?
Thank you, Councillor. Great question. So we do an annual overall safety and security progress report. So our plan is to bring that forward early in 2022, which will include some preliminary reports on these additional enhanced measures that we've had in place. So we're going to formally evaluate all of these additional tactics to be able to determine if we achieve the intended outcomes and if we need to make any permanent adjustments to the plan as well.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I would move the receipt for information when that time comes.
Thank you. I have a couple more questions and then we'll take that. All right. I just wanted to follow up on something Councillor Knack had suggested, and he talked about the activation of spaces. I've often wondered why we haven't looked at mobile businesses going into some of those spaces, whether it's, you see in some European cities, they have flower carts and coffee carts and dessert carts, and they're very mobile. Have we ever looked at that?
So we definitely have a permit process, and we've had a number of different organizations go through that with us, and they've engaged in different activities within our spaces. That's something, again, we can take offline and consult with the respective branches in the city to come back with some suggestions. We're really open-minded right now and looking at lots of creative ways for that kind of activation and creating those lively, vibrant spaces to welcome people back.
And Councillor, if I could just add to that, Ms. McCabe and her team have had conversations with us in regards to, what the potential is to activate these spaces to align more with the city building we're trying to envision and grow towards. So certainly, as Ms. Houghton-McDonald alluded to, we are definitely at a point in time where we're open to all kinds of different opportunities. So I think this is really good timing from the city building perspective, as well as how that component can enhance the safety of our facilities.
I think it enhances safety, but also gives new and interesting business opportunities for people that perhaps are needing to pivot into something new, and jobs are important. And I want to put my plug in. If we're looking at developing in and around transit centers, for me, one of the challenges is single mothers that have to get up, take the bus, go to the transit center, get their child to childcare, get back on the bus, go to their place of employment. So to have childcare near transit centers may eliminate one of their stops for them. So I just want to throw it out there. My final question is really around the safety at bus stops. One of the things I'm hearing, and I don't know if any of this work would spill into it, is now that people are walking a little bit farther to their bus stops, they don't always feel safe walking farther, particularly at night, lighting, etc. Are we going to be in our safety look at that aspect?
So we can definitely take that away and do that analysis with our colleagues in Parks and Roads for sure. That's good feedback to have, and we'll do the appropriate follow-up.
And together with that, it's going to be snow removal. I'm sure it's coming as one of the concerns about we're walking farther. If we want everybody, particularly people with strollers and wheelchairs, they have to be able to access that farther distance. So,
absolutely, we agree with you.
Thank you very much. So, Councillor Banga, you wanted to move this receipt for information. We understand there will be a report in early 22 on all the safety factors, so another motion to get more information or update is not needed. So, Councillor Banga, you want to move that and then speak to it if you like, and then I'll open it up for other people to speak to it.
I will move that, and then when my turn comes, I will speak to it.
Okay, I will go now. That's moved to Mayor Iveson.
Well, thank you. All my questions were addressed by excellent and engaged questions from members of council, and really, really strong answers from administration. Just a couple of reflections on this. Obviously, the pandemic has created havoc across so many different public services, including public transit, and it has the reduction in ridership has meant that the natural surveillance that normally occurs on the system isn't there to the same degree that people are used to. And that does have an effect on both people's perceived sense of safety as well as the actual conditions that allow for a disorder or mischief to occur. So I fully recognize that, and I've seen it. I'm still using the system occasionally where it's convenient, and to also to keep an eye on what's happening, because we're hearing a lot and we're seeing statistics, and there's a lot of public concern, and there should be, because these are really suboptimal circumstances that we find ourselves in. In speaking with Canada's other big city mayors, we are all in the same situation. This is not an Edmonton-specific challenge. Disorder issues, ridership issues, safety issues are an issue on transit systems, large transit systems across the country. But I am really pleased that the sort of data-driven approach that we've long prided ourselves on is helping us. That a technology-enabled approach, particularly with the cameras everywhere on the system that allow for investigation and accountability to move very swiftly where there are incidents. The emphasis on rapid response and deployment when people identify issues by hitting either the blue buttons or the help buttons on the trains, and even just that first GBA plus change that we made a few years ago to take the fine for misuse stickers down and say, if you need help, press this button. Don't think twice, press this button. And then having a jump to the pump kind of response to that through a mix of police, and we appreciate their interest and engagement in what's happening on the system, from our peace officers who are spread across a very large system, but still able to respond quickly using that technology support. And then the last thing I'll say is just that I'm very impressed so far with the commissionaires. My interactions with them have been very positive. There is a higher degree of sort of engagement and that active passivity, or as Councillor Knack put it, that I think is very encouraging. So I think we're making progress on this, and ultimately it's a bit of a chicken and egg, because we've got to create the perception of safety so people will come back onto the system to add to the perception of safety by having more people on the system. So we're going to need to work very hard to induce people back. But reports like this and the interagency cooperation that's happening and the support for vulnerable people who, unfortunately, the perception is that vulnerable people who happen to be sheltering in the transit system, there is fear that they may present a safety risk, when in most cases it's their safety that is at risk and needs a better societal response, including supportive housing. And I will keep saying that until blood comes out of my forehead, beating my head against the wall to get the solutions that we need to actually support vulnerable people. Because if we had that and a return to ridership with mass vaccination and people coming back to work, things will be back to normal before you know it, and better than ever. But we're not there yet. So in the interim, the diligence that everyone has demonstrated in these presentations and these reports is much appreciated from this transit rider. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll jump in here now. I just want to say thank you very much for all the presentations. But what really stood out for me today was the human element, that we're looking at people and really respond to them as humans. Some of them have some very specific needs that need support for. Some of them need some education and direction. Some of them just need to feel the security of someone's watching out and a friendly face is there to greet them. And I think that's going to go a long way to helping people feel safe. And I really appreciate the commissionaires change, and I'm really watching that one in particular. I had some concerns coming in, but I feel much better listening to the approach that's been taken. And I was thinking about that as we did the UN Safe Women study. Transportation concerns and safety was the #1 issue. And I'm really excited that we are transitioning into even some additional items, the outreach workers and the bystander movement. You know, we've added the text help transit watch texting service. So we're beginning to address that. But I think the activation of the space and as we pivot into some new opportunities, maybe we haven't pursued before, might give us additional opportunities to create safe spaces. So I'm very excited about where we are. Our goal is that Edmonton is a safe city for everyone, to take the transit, to travel this city and not have to think, am I at the right time of day? Is it too late for me to be going out on transit now? And so the idea that we are pivoting to a real human response really is comforting, and I'm hoping that people will see it and try it. And I think that campaign of what's happening out there will be really key to luring them back to get back on board and using the system. Because I was worried when someone says, well, I had a choice, I'm going to drive now. So we want to lure them back as well. So I think we have that communication challenge to move forward. But I think we're on the right track. And we'll see increased ridership, but we'll also see people feeling safer. And I'm looking forward to that report next year and the evidence that can prove that our investment has really paid off in great dividends to keep people safe. With that comment, I'll turn to Councillor Knack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And first, just again, my thanks to you, Madam Chair, for your work when you first started this, when your time on council. You've been a champion for improved transit safety, and through your leadership, we have seen some immense change in the city. And I cannot thank you enough for the work that you've done. Just want to move on to say my thanks to what I heard today. Being very blunt, I did not feel we were getting value from our security guards, and I did not think they were producing the outcomes that we hoped to achieve. I know why we sort of rushed to do it at the time we did, and then I had seen story after story. I had experienced things myself that just didn't give me confidence that we were overall getting what we wanted to. Appreciated that the numbers in the report showed there were some positive benefits even with the old contract, but what I've heard today gives me a lot more confidence about that particular part of the work, along with everything else that's being added in that's been shown today. So thank you for what was a very short turnaround time on a report to put together something so comprehensive that will, I think, give people great confidence about their safety using the system. And I do hope we promote this and really talk about it to show people, we've got a revised system, it's safer. Let's get that and just shout it at the rooftops, and hopefully it gets coverage today about all the positive changes. But even if we don't get media coverage today, I hope we're talking about it actively and putting it out there so people know they have nothing to fear coming to use our system. In fact, it's going to be a better experience than they've had in the past. So thank you for all your work on that. I look forward to getting to experience the commissioners myself. Just haven't had a chance at my particular hubs that I've used over the last little while. So looking forward to that. So glad to hear that from Mayor Iveson. And the last piece, and I know it was a bit of tangential piece when I was asking my questions, but I will, and I've already sent an email over to Ms. Pearson. I want to sit down and actually talk about that, because I think in the past we've sort of talked about how we activate our transit hubs tied into other conversations. I think maybe we need to be a little more direct, because my experience having traveled to other cities is every city where there is coffee shop, a bakery, a dry cleaner, daycare, doesn't matter what it is, it feels so much better because you've just got so many more people. And so that is good for the safety of our system, which is what we're here talking about today. There's a whole host of city building benefits as well as to why we would want that. And I think we need to be willing to say, maybe we don't need to get market value for something on these hubs, because the added value to safety, to activation, to everything else is going to pay itself back even far more than we could ever hope for. So I'm going to sit down with some folks and see if we maybe need to give that in the form of a motion at some point, because I think it's time that we really push that forward. Because tying it back to this report, it is something that I think will really, we can spend all the money in the world on security guards and on police officers and on these teams, which I think is good that we're doing that and we're investing in that right now. But I have never felt safer on transit when I've been surrounded by thousands of others of people at any time of day. And there are, our city doesn't have that at all times of day. And I think if we have destination points that people can go to, that can do that as well. But in the meantime, we've got a great series of enhancements being made. Thank you so much for the work on this. You have given me confidence that the money we are now investing into the commissioners in particular, that contract is going to be producing better value and a better experience. And then everything else being added is going to be, I think, just really beneficial. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Knack, and we'll go to Councillor Banga to wrap us up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I am impressed with everything that's suggested, and we are going to be doing. And the most impressive part is probably the interagency collaboration. I think this is probably the way to go, rather than working in silos. I must throw a disclaimer in there that I am not a frequent transit rider, bus rider, whatever you want to call it. However, a few times I have taken transit. It's been so impressive and so welcoming, especially the last time I rode a bus about a month ago. It was the approach by the operator was so impressive. When people getting off and on, he welcomed them, and then people going getting off the bus, he actually wished them good day, and I was impressed, and of course these are some of those things, but the main idea is to again the perceived safety and the actual safety. It is we're spending a lot of money on transit, and we want it to be used accordingly. And we're doing everything. And now, with this report today, and the report that's going to be coming back in 2022, I hope that we are definitely able to demonstrate that to the folks in the transit system, that we are achieving the goals that we are spending money on, and the bus. I keep going to the bus, and transit is safe. It's reliable, and people should be using it without any concerns, fears, etc., etc. Again, I'm impressed, and it is good to hear when we are working with different departments and jointly advancing towards the goal, that is to improve the safety and security among transit users. Thank you so much, and it's good to see that things are working, and hopefully we have, I guess, measured approach to see what is working and what is not working, and concentrate on what is working eventually. But anyway, it is good to see all the efforts being done, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Banga. So with that, I am going to call the vote. Please vote on receiving this information.
We're just waiting for Councillor Katarina's vote and your vote as well, Madam Chair. Still waiting on Councillor Katarina.
Councillor Katarina, can you hear us?
I think he may be on the phone. You may just have to *6 to unmute.
Okay, *6, Councillor Katarina. Councillor Katarina. Well, we're not sure what happened to him. If he's still with us or not.
The
He
person.
may,
the
he may have want to get his cappuccino refill.
Regardless, I think we'll just display the vote and have to show him an absent unless we can hear that there's some other thing happening there. Display the vote. And that is carried. Well, at this point, I'm just going to call for any notices.
Hello.
Oh, hello,
Hello.
Councillor Katarina.
Yes, I've been trying to get my yes in for quite some time.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you adjust the record of that?
Yes, confirming Councillor Katarina that you're a yes for receipt for information?
Yes, please.
Perfect. We will amend the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, and that is carried 5-0. With that, looking for notices of motion. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.